you're trending today, and a very, very interesting piece of news is that according to Gerard Romero, who is, when it comes to Barcelona, has a very, very good track record and he's highly credible. He has stated that Tottenham have offered Barcelona 60 million euros for Frenkie de Jong on a four-year deal with the same salary if he meets certain objectives. That would probably mean Champions League qualification. It is a reliable source. Frenkie de Jong to Spurs. Firstly, how good a player is Frenkie de Jong, and how much do you think he would elevate Tottenham and how you play football?
So to answer that question first, how good a player is Frenkie de Jong? I think Frenkie de Jong is class. Frenkie de Jong is a top midfielder. Loves getting on the ball, loves making things happen, keeps games ticking. Fantastic footballer. How much would he elevate Tottenham Hotspur? Massively. Now, when I get to the reality of the situation, I can't see it in any way, shape, or form. I just can't. I've seen this obviously on all my Spurs WhatsApp groups and whatever today is all about. Oh my God, do you reckon he's coming? Some people saying, yeah, well, this is the new era that we're going into. Other people saying, no, we haven't got a chance. Listen, this falls into the bucket for me of this would be amazing. This would be like a Klinsmann type signing back in the day, depending on how old people are. They'll remember that. I
remember that happening twice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I can't see it, mate. I genuinely believe that that Frenkie de Jong will have other suitors that are bigger than Tottenham Hotspur, that will offer him more money, that can promise him, not promise, but can probably offer trophies on a more regular basis. We're not won a trophy for 16 years, but I think that it's a dream. I would love Frenkie de Jong in my midfield. He would be the best player at the football club immediately from moment one of walking into the club. I just can't see it, mate. I can't. I'd love to sit here and say I believe it, but Daniel Levy's never done this. Spurs have never gone out and taken a top player from a top European football club before. We tend to get them when they're Mickey van der Ven's.
Let me ask you. Did you just sign Brennan Johnson for 50 million? What is going to stop the guy for dropping 60 million for Frenkie de Jong? I'm not getting the very. You are okay for some reasons. You're afraid to be happy about this news or be excited.
Whoa. No, for some reason
that's how it's coming across.
Mo, I'd say for some reason I've supported Tottenham Hotspur for 40 years, and this isn't how we act. So when I'm told things like that from people who say, "Oh, you're not happy," listen. If I sat here right now and went, "Oh my God, we're signing Frenkie de Jong," I don't believe it deep down. It would be false.
I think there's multiple layers to this though. So I agree with Mo. You can afford him. You can afford him.
I don't doubt that for a second.
Yeah. So I think the money's there. So that's not an issue for me.
I don't doubt that.
Where I would challenge you again, I agree with you not going, "Oh my God, we've got him," because there's no sign that you've got him. It's a bid. What I would be excited about, again, some people say Gerard Romero isn't reliable, but I remember 2 summers ago when it was the whole Barca hot, that man got so many things right. And yes, he got some things wrong, but he isn't actually looking to be sort of precision accurate like a David Ornstein. He just throws out news that he's hearing, and he's got a lot of connections at Barcelona. I know that to be true. But it's one of these things where Spurs have now moved into a realm financially that they've never been in before. In fact, the 5th biggest turnover in world football. They keep talking, as in your board, of you're going down a new avenue. The reason you built the stadium, the reason that Lady Gaga and Beyonce were there, the reason you've got the F1 track is to generate the money to buy stars, to not just become a team that qualifies for the Champions League, is to literally compete. So the part of me feels like this is true. That doesn't mean you'll get him. So I agree with you, Sav. I agree with you, Sav.
But I wanted to ask a question.
I believe you put. Again, I know the British media will not call it a bid. They'll say there's been an inquiry or something, right? But I believe you guys are going to try and sign players like him. Now, I'm not saying you'll get him. I'm not saying you'll get him. But if I was a Spurs fan, I'd be excited at the prospect that my club is starting to move like a giant club.
Sure.
Who's better? Okay, sorry, Safa. You said something, and I don't. You said there are other clubs that will guarantee you win trophies and stuff like that. I don't believe so. if Man United are going for Frenkie de Jong and Spurs are going for Frenkie de Jong, yes, under Ten Hag and stuff is the Ajax link and stuff like this. And if Spurs are going for him under Ange Postecoglou, and if you get Champions League this year, why would you choose Man United? Do you think Man United are closer to win trophies? I don't think so. Is my opinion. I don't think so. In the near future, the guy's 26. He's going to get a 4-year contract. He's looking for an immediate success. I believe it's Spurs closer to Man United, especially if you make Champions League. You're talking about Arsenal are in for him. I'm looking at between Arsenal and Spurs. I believe if Arsenal don't win a trophy this year, and if they don't come close, there will be a little bit of instability at the club. I believe the way Spurs are working now, the way Ange Postecoglou is presenting himself to the media, the way Daniel Levy already spent the money in the summer to back Ange Postecoglou, and this news coming out, it looks like the club is going into the right direction. I don't think that Spurs, for example, if they offer Frenkie de Jong a good contract, he would choose somebody else more than you.
So now,
like over you. Chelsea the same. Caicedo chose Chelsea. Okay, me were saying for the money. I was saying for the money, but a lot of people say it's the project. Lavia chose him for the project. Enzo chose him for the project. Why not? I don't get it. Why not?
Okay. I'll tell you why not. Because what you've just said there is lovely on paper. What you've both said there is wonderful on paper. I know Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham Hotspur, we never, ever go in and take a top European player from a club where we're going to have to be involved in direct competition with 2 or 3 rivals or 2 or 3 big clubs. When Spurs do their deals, they're clever with their deals. Basuma, 1 year left on his contract at Brighton. James Maddison, when he was worth 70, 80 million, no bid went in from Tottenham Hotspur. When he's relegated with Leicester City and he's £40 million with 1 year left on his contract, we go in and get him. Van der Ven, as a youngster at Wolfsburg, we'll go in and get him. I haven't seen Spurs, and until we do what I'm about to say, I won't believe it. I haven't seen Spurs go in, let's say we're up against Arsenal, Inter Milan, I don't know, whoever, in for a player like Frenkie de Jong, have the negotiations, pay more money, offer a better contract and sign him. When we do, I'll agree with you completely. Do we have the money? Yes. Of course we've got the money. We're financially ridiculously well off, right? We're like 350 million away from financial fair play. Like there's no worries about the money. Will we pay somebody those wages that he's on at Barcelona? Not in a million years. That's not what we do. Will he choose us over other clubs when looking at the fact that we've not won anything? I don't think so. If I'm wrong, I'll happily sit here in the summer and go, wow, Spurs are acting different. But at the moment, I see us getting to windows, and you talk about Daniel Levy giving him the money, backing this manager. You've got to remember that most of the money that came from giving to Ange Postecoglou was from the Harry Kane and Harry Winks sale. It wasn't like he's gone into his own pocket and got, here you go, blood, we're going to act different. That's not how Spurs operate as a football club, lads. It's not what we do. So when we do it, I'll happily come on here and go, things are moving. Things are changing. But I've not seen it. Unless any of you can give me an example of a player or anyone in the chat to prove me wrong.
So listen, I think what you're saying holds water. The only element where I wouldn't challenge, I'm not challenging it per se. I'm just saying that I believe this report. I believe you have made this approach, which means you're trying to sign him, which is a good thing. Now, I'm not stating that you'll get him, because I agree with you. If Man United going for him seriously, if Liverpool going for him seriously, if City going for him seriously, I think it's hard for Tottenham still because of the statuses of those football clubs, the history of those football clubs. But I believe Spurs are trying to get him, and Barcelona are in trouble. I believe there's talks today that De Zerbi is going to reject Barcelona because he believes that staying in the Premier League is a better place for him to be. And I think it shows you I heard a debate earlier on today about like the legacies of, Fergie versus Pep in the Premier League, and Pep's amazing. I'm not putting him down. But they were talking about like the European record. And I'm like, but listen, in the 90s and the noughties, every season was there only ever 1 or 2 teams that we looked at and went, they can win the Champions League? No. There was 2 or 3 from England. There was 2 or 3 Spanish teams, 2 or 3 English teams, 2 or 3 Italians, and a couple of German teams every year, plus a sprinkling of teams from other parts of the world, France, Portugal, etc., always had a chance of winning the Champions League. The talent was far more spread out than it was. Now it's all kind of accumulated in one or two places because of the finances. So that's why I think the world is changing for teams like Tottenham, like Newcastle, because I do believe the Premier League is a very, very, very attractive place to be. And Barca is huge. And I think that the reason, but then what you'll start to see potentially is if more and more players are coming to here, more and more managers are coming here because of the finances, it's the attractive place to be, that's going to have a trickle-down effect because not all of these top players can go to the top 2 or 3 clubs. And right now, Spurs are the fourth best team.
Terry, can I just say
something? If you're in the Champions League, there's a genuine chance with Postecoglou playing a style of football, the money you have and the progression of Tottenham, that it depends who other people go for. Maybe Frenkie de Jong, maybe Man United don't go in for him. Maybe City don't go in for him and he's there. So I'd much rather my club be trying to sign someone.
I'm not comparing City.
Hang on.
We're not talking about City and Liverpool. We're not talking about City and Liverpool. We're talking about Arsenal or Spurs, right? It depends. If Arsenal go for him, I believe he chooses Arsenal, probably because of Arsenal are in a much later phase for him. Yes. But I think that he can go to Spurs. I don't see like Spurs, you will pay the money and he can go to Spurs, especially if you make Champions League.
Okay.
Very attractive.
When have we paid any? What wages is he on?
So don't. So
720.
No, he's not. He's not. That's not quite true. So
okay, but he's on more than like, he's on like half a million euros.
I think he's on like, no, I think he's on about 350. The reason it's at 750, I believe, currently, or 720, is because for 2.5 years he wasn't paid and it was deferred. So it went up for a 2-year period to pay him his deferred money. So it's about 350 to 400 grand a week.
So first of all, look, guys, right? I think people get it very wrong. I sometimes don't think people actually listen to what's being said versus what they want to hear. I would love Spurs to go in and buy Frenkie de Jong. I started by saying this guy would elevate us immediately. I've not seen Spurs go in for this type of player. I've heard this talk for 10, 15, 20 years under Levy. When we get Champions League for the first time, we're going to go and buy big. Never did. When we get the stadium built, we're going to go and buy big. That's not what we've done, right? I would love to be wrong, but I hear this every year. I hear this every single year.
So do you think you can only be successful if you sign these players? My point is, if you don't sign these players, do you believe you can compete?
No.
Okay, so you're actually putting the project into failure. This is what I'm hearing.
No, but hang on.
Your answer is we aren't signing the player, and I don't think we'll compete unless we sign the player. And you are saying I don't see us signing the player, so you're putting the Spurs project into failure.
So this is I mean, this is a huge.
Listening to you now.
This is a huge spin because obviously I've not said anything about a project, but I mean, this is a huge spin that you've just taken it from 0 to 100 there. But for me, when you talk about the project, are we talking about a project of the ultimate goal is winning the title?
Yes.
And winning the Champions League.
Yes.
I mean, I think any talk of that being the project is so far away. It's unreal, Mo. I think you can get there if things are done brilliantly over a number of years. But to say that Postecoglou is going to come in 1 year, we're going to get Champions League football, we're going to start offering 400 grand a week for people like Frenkie de Jong and beat other European clubs to his signature. Listen, I see people in the chat saying like the Spurs fans' mentality is weak. I want it. The whole Spurs fan base want this. But none of you can give me an example of when Levy has done this. So until I see it, I don't believe it. It's not like I don't want it to happen.
But you don't believe it's going to happen. You even don't believe it's going to happen.
Mo, because we've not done it. That's not how Daniel Levy's been on
chairman. I never said
Mo.
1 year, by the way. I never said 1 year.
I know you didn't.
It starts somewhere, right? It has to start with one player.
Sure, but I don't think it's going to start with a player who's on 400 or grand a week. I just don't think it is going to. For me, as I've said, I could be wrong. I think Frenkie de Jong, if he is available to leave Barcelona, will have bigger suitors. Now, that's not me being unambitious. That is me knowing that there are bigger football teams than Tottenham Hotspur, that have won things more recently. We can talk about the project. That's great, but we're not winning things, If I'm Frenkie de Jong, you called it, Mo. You said he's 26.
Yep.
He's not 21. He's not got 10 years, right? He's not got 10 years. He's got, 4 years in his peak until he gets to that stage where you get a bit older. So for me, I can't see that he's going to make that move. If he does, I will come back on here and go, oh my God, well done, Spurs have changed.
I agree
that we don't.
You may not get. I agree that you may not get him. I suppose my take on this is just, if I was a Spurs fan, I'd be happy at the fact that you're trying to get him at the very least.
But all the people tied to our club have said it's untrue, Terry. So
but they will though, and I tell you as to why they will. And this is the one thing I say about when it comes to dissecting transfer news. You have to be very mindful of who you listen to and at what stage of a transfer story. So I'll give you an example. The Portuguese press were saying that Liverpool were going to go for Darwin Núñez. All the Liverpool media and the British media said, no. 4 days later, they changed their minds on it. And it's because the Portuguese press have no loyalty to Liverpool Football Club for controlling the narrative in the way they want it. They just reported on what they were told from that end. It's a situation here as well. The Spurs press are always going to turn this down, probably because Spurs fear what you fear, that you're not going to get him. And the crazy thing, as I found with transfers in the last 4 years, is the lengths that clubs have gone to ensure that there isn't a story out there that says they got rejected. I find it strange, to a point now where the chairman phones another chairman and says, would a £60 million bid be enough for your player? And the chairman says, no, it's nowhere near enough. And he said, all right, mate, I'll ring you later. Some fans, because the media tell them this, don't believe that's a bid because it isn't an official bid on paper. But for me, as a normal human being, that's a bid, in my opinion.
You inquired about if you can pay 60 million to buy the player. If they said yes, you would have bought him.
We have muddied the water in football transfers by adding multiple stages that don't exist. I got called out once for saying something's in advanced talks. I mean, how is it advanced? I said, well, they've agreed the transfer fee. The player has said he wants to go. They've agreed the base salary. They're just negotiating bonuses. How is it not advanced? Well, advanced is like when he's just about to lift the shirt for us. I was like, what's a weird definition of advanced? Like the negotiations are at that stage. But look, I think it's good news for Tottenham. I think it shows you're moving in the right direction. You may not get him, but that's the level of ambition you've got to show.
I completely agree.
Can I say something about Frenkie de Jong?
People have completely misconstrued what I said.
No, I got it, bro. I got it.
No, I know you did. I know. It's just amazing. Like, I want Levy to do these deals. But like we had this 2 years ago with Bastoni. Everyone's saying Bastoni's coming. It was like, Bastoni's not going to come to Tottenham from Inter Milan. Oh, you're so negative. No, he's just not going to leave Inter Milan to come to Tottenham Hotspur. Right? If I'm wrong, listen, you look at the signings you made. Made some good signings. Name one of them that has come from a European giant in their peak.
So when do you think it's going to happen, though? I don't know.
But Mo, notice when I asked that, you're going to a different question.
I'm asking a European giant. I'll
tell you what you got from a European giant in his peak. Emerson Royale.
Right. But this is the thing, right?
Got another one for you. Sergio Reguilon from Real Madrid. Got him 30 mil. Who else we got? I'm just going for it. I'm obviously being flippant when I say this. You got Davinson Sanchez from Ajax, European final they were in that year. I'm being flippant.
I know you are, but this is my point. I would love to pick up. I was going to say pick up the paper like how you used to find out about. I'd love to wake up in the summer, first week of the summer, and Spurs in negotiations. Properly, Spurs in negotiations with Frenkie de Jong, and you sit there and you go, God, they're trying to make moves. But Tottenham, whenever there is a big deal to be done with players who are in the peak, we're nowhere to be seen. We will get them when they're young, or we will get them when they're old. Until that changes, I don't believe it. Do I want it to be true? Yes. And that's the difference. People want me to be sitting there and go, oh my God, Frenkie de Jong. Cool. I love Frenkie de Jong. He's an amazing footballer. But I don't remember the last time Spurs went down and bought a player as good as Frenkie de Jong. So you guys can say, oh, it could happen and we think it should happen. Cool. I think it should happen as well. I think we've got the finances as well, but we never see it. When we see it, I'll admit, cool, we're trying.